who's listening. So everyone, my name is Brendan Yell. I'm the APAC director for SendGrid, focusing specifically on startups. Flown all the way from Sydney. It was quite a long trip, but as I said before, very, very glad to be here. I'm just going to go through a bit of a run sheet on what we're going to go through and what we're going to learn today. Firstly, we're going to have Brian Albers. Brian's up there. Hey, Brian. He's going to provide a SendGrid overview for you. He is our partnership manager at SendGrid. Then I'm going to run through an expert's guide to growing your email list. After that, we've got deliverability myth busting from Len Schneider. Where's Len? Hey, Len, how you doing? And then we're also going to have an introduction to some of our new partners, Caddycode and Handy Networks, who are resellers of SendGrid here in India. This event should finish in about 1 hour's time, and we're going to go downstairs to Aquaba. We're going to throw some drinks and some food. Some drinks in the bar and some food there for you as well. So we'd love to join you for that. We've also got some SendGrid t-shirts, pretty cool t-shirts just like this one for you to grab on your way out. So great to have you here. It would be very amiss of me not to thank our wonderful hosts here from Rise Mumbai. If you don't know what Rise is a fintech accelerator. They run about 8 of these around the world in London and Tel Aviv and then San Francisco as well. It's a fintech accelerator created by Barclays. So thank you to the wonderful people of Rise for hosting us here today. And this space is actually also run by 91 Springboard. Perhaps a lot of you people know 91 Springboard. They run co-working spaces in 8 cities around India in about 25 locations. So we just want to thank those people as well. So I'd like to now introduce Mr. Brian Albers, who is our Senior Partnership Success Manager. Over to you, Brian.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here this afternoon. We'll talk a little bit about SendGrid as a whole, do an overview, a little bit about history, products, who we are as an organization, and why we do email. And then I thought something special I could do for the event was I asked a lot of experts within SendGrid what they want to relay to you here as you're developing your email programs. But before I get started, I was curious, how many people are here from the city of Mumbai? So most people. And from outside? All right. Anyone travel over 300 miles? Besides you, turkeys up in the front row. First t-shirt, right there. So thank you for coming all this way. Definitely appreciate it. So my title is Senior Partner Success Manager at SendGrid. I've been with SendGrid for about 5 years. I've worked with a lot of our high volume customers, a lot of our VIP customers in their email programs, giving them advice, helping them with their strategy. And of late, I work with our partners such as Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud Platform, SoftLayer, IBM, Heroku, which is a Salesforce company. And they provide SendGrid through their platforms as well. So I work with them as well as internationally with a lot of our different partners there. So SendGrid is the most widely used platform cloud email. And these 3 gentlemen in the blue in the background are actually our founders, and they started in 2009. The idea actually started a year before that. They had worked at several startups. They had their own businesses, and each and every time they had to spin up mail servers, and they had to spend time figuring out their mail programs, their communication with their email. It was always a pain point. Light bulb right there, pain point. How do I make this simple for other engineers, other developers who want to send email? Let's put it in the cloud. Let's create some great APIs, easy to set up, provide the documentation, the expertise. They're off and running. And they started with an organization called Techstars. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Techstars as well. Similar to what everyone's kind of to do here in the startup world. That's where SendGrid came from the startup world. And that's why we love to give back to startups as well. And since then, we've been able to work with customers like Flipkart here, or should I say Walmart now, IndyMart, Freshdesk, many different Indian customers as well as international brands. Uber, has anyone taken an Uber before? Have you ever gotten a receipt from Uber email? Guess who sent that? SendGrid did. So we're the power behind their email program. They rely on SendGrid to deliver their email and at scale. When Uber started, they had a small account, but they now send hundreds of millions of emails every month. And we have the scale and capabilities of providing that service for them. So they rely on us. The SendGrid today, we have over 69,000 paying customers. We're in over 100 different countries, and we're sending 1.5 billion emails every day. And those are terms we use a lot, billion and million, in our daily routines. To give you an idea of scale with millions and billions, if you look at seconds, a million seconds takes about 11 days to go through. A billion, that scale, anyone have a guess how long a billion seconds takes? Matt, I know you know. 31 years. Thank you. And in our lifetime, we've sent over 1 trillion emails. Trillion emails, 32,000 seconds, 32,000 years in seconds. So that's the kind of scale that SendGrid provides. So as you start up your company, you begin your email program, you scale, you get larger, you know that SendGrid's right there with you the whole time. Today, our headquarters are in Denver, Colorado. That's where I'm out of. We have offices in Silicon Valley at Redwood City near San Francisco, in LA. So those Californians that we work with that like the beach, they go to our LA office. And then we have a London office as well that we opened last year, which is mostly a sales and marketing and customer support organization. In Japan, we have a reseller that we work with. And then in India, we also have resellers that we work with. Those are Caddy Code, and Handy Networks. And the reason we're working with resellers here is they understand India better than SendGrid coming from the United States. They have the infrastructure, the network, the capabilities to really hone in on the needs of Indian customers, provide support here locally in India, as well as payments in rupees, where SendGrid Direct is in dollars. So it's an opportunity for customers to get a different kind of support. And I want to start off, Mastan, if you want to come up and say a couple words and introduce yourself. Mastan is here with Caddy Code.
Hi, so my name is Mastan. I'm a captain of Caddy Code Solutions Private Limited. So I would like to just know how many of you are from startup, you're building your own product, just raise their hands. Yeah, so I'm the one among of you, and we are building, so we are going global from India. So we are building a product for US, Europe, and Asian regions, of course. So you must be, if you are aware of self-store industry, we are just building a CRM-based product, and we had a long story of moving to SendGrid. So being a product-based company, and just shall I proceed with the my real-time scenario? How we went through, or yeah. So we have another product, a Shop USA, and maybe you love to buy products from Amazon.in and Flipkart. So apart from that, if at all you would like to grab the offers of your December deals, how will you get to India? So let's say you bought a product from Amazon.com, another one is eBay, and you will be ending up with paying a lot of shipping charges, right? So we have an application, so where you can ship within US free of cost, and from there we consolidate instead of spending two products, $200 in shipping, and $15 you can ship it to India. So that kind of product we built, and it's been there in Denmark, Sweden, Iceland, European countries. Apart from that, recently we started India as well. But so let's get into the SendGrid, journey. So in 2012 we had DDoS attacks. How many of you are aware of DDoS attacks? So we faced that. So one day, one fine morning, what happened? Our servers were not working. So server we have hosted Shop USA in Iceland. Then we were just 2 hours, 3 hours, so it didn't work. And today we have so many cloud-based solutions, upboot, root boot, so many things. It can get notification for us. Your server is down and server is up. But so in 2012, maybe I was not aware of that kind of solutions, and the server was down. And lately we found that, so we had DDoS attacks, and so of course, generally, if somebody is doing these attacks intentionally, they'll be asking you some money. But unfortunately, we did not get any clue on that to solve the problem. Then we forced to move Amazon Web Services in 2013. I mean, in 2012. So then we moved it, and we have integrated with SES. That's cool. And all transactional mails were triggering. And again, we have a bad emails from our customers, franchise countries from Denmark and Iceland, Sweden, and Denmark. They were not able to see all the emails. It's a surprise news. It was surprise news, and we reached out SES and said that, so this is the problem, and they said that, so no, you can't send out these characters. SES doesn't don't support. So we were started searching for suitable solution, and we found SendGrid on in the same 2012, and we have integrated that day for transactional emails. That time, our franchisee owners from Denmark, and as I told you, that 4 to 5 franchisee countries, they were using Mailchimp and their own marketing emails. They were doing it for sending out marketing emails, and then so we started exploring more along with the transactional emails, and we said that, hey, so SendGrid has had that time, it's a tool name called Legacy Newsletter. If somebody is using newsletter, SendGrid newsletter, they must be aware of. It was retired last October, I guess. So we have started. We told them to start using it, and they felt much more comfortable with any other tools, marketing email. So finally, we could end up with using the same tool for the same price rather than using multiple tools and multiple support. So that is how we started. From there, we have used many. So many. Recently, as I told you that, so we are building a product and our validation done. We have paying customers, and of course, so we are growing in that area, self-storage CRM application. So in that, so again, there is a, if you guys are technical background, just you can understand easily. So if somebody wants to send out the invoices automatically on end of your month, end of calendar month, that we have automated. I said that developers, hey guys, don't write much programming. Now we have SendGrid templates, get the IDs, consume the APIs, and simply put the text box and insert whatever the templates and pass it to the API. They'll take care of it, everything. So that is the simplest way of what we have integrated with SendGrid. So we have almost explored majority of APIs from SendGrid. So finally, and as I told you that in our product, every our customer has to have a SendGrid account. Then we reached out SendGrid maybe a year ago when we started getting customers from Italy and Ukraine and US. Then we said that, so do you offer any kind of reseller model, because we have customers from throughout the globe. They said that maybe late Brian has reached out and said that, hey, recently, so we are about to start that. Would you like to meet? Yes, of course. So we could do any kind of integration process easily with the SendGrid. And of course, we love to help any Indians. They want to start integration part with SendGrid. So that's the reason we started with the business with SendGrids. Yeah. So if you have any questions, please reach me out after this meetup. I'll be available here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mustan. It's always great to have a customer testimonial in a presentation, so thank you very much. Our other partner here today is Handy Networks. Bill, you wanted to come up and introduce Handy Networks?
Thank you, Brad. Good afternoon. It's great to be here in Mumbai. I think that's where we are, right? And we here at the Handy Networks, actually, we're in the same office complex as SendGrid. And that was sort of the initiation of our relationship with them. Now, here in India, we actually have an extensive staff of about 80 or so in sales, marketing, and customer service. And we've had that for a number of years. But because of our relationship with them and what we're able to provide as far as support, infrastructure, and the like, we aligned ourselves with a SendGrid. So what I want to do with a number of our staff who are here today and like to introduce them to you. And so whether during this event or at the cocktail reception, please take the time to meet with them. We actually have a presence throughout all of India in north, south, east, and west, and we're looking at expanding that. But that being said, myself, I'm VP of Sales and Marketing at Handy Networks. My experience is about 20 or so years in communications industry, telecom initially, responsible for actually all the resellers in the western half of the United States and Latin America. I was with MCI, which ultimately became Verizon. So that's been my background, and I'm sure some of you are familiar with Verizon, perhaps not MCI. It's kind of a touchy subject there with some of the things that happened with that company. But that being said, that's my background, and I wanted to have Matt Sadowski. Matt Sadowski is our key account manager. And before I introduce the rest of our team, I wanted him to give you a little bit of the history and background of Handy Networks above and beyond just our presence here and our ability to support and make SendGrid, a viable partner here in India. Matthew?
Yes. Thank you, Bill, for the introduction, everybody here. I'm Matt Sadowski, Key Account Manager with Handy Networks. And as Bill said, we're in the same building as SendGrid. They're actually on the 5th floor. We're on the 2nd floor. We had originally started in 1999. My brother actually started the company. Back then, he started to actually write code for NetObjects and Cold Fusion at that time, and really got into the web hosting industry. And we were able to effectively evolve with many resellers, actually in 45 countries internationally, just because at that point in time, just the price of infrastructure and the quality of infrastructure was a lot more affordable in the US. And that's ultimately what our clients demanded, was a lot of support to ultimately lead to their success. So they lean on us heavily. Some of the areas that we're really effective in are dealing with governments and municipalities, working government bids and contracts, as well as within the fintech and banking industries as well. And we really see this opportunity as SendGrid to support them and get this software API platform used widely throughout India, just because it works. It's a best-in-class API that's very effective. And it allows developers to take more time to do what they love and develop cool projects instead of set up SMTP servers. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Matthew. So now I'd like to introduce our team to you, and I hope you take the opportunity to speak with them, visit with them while they're here. Well, I think we're really proud of the team we have, the expertise that they have, the length of experience they have in the various, data processing environment, cloud hosting, and the like. So first of all, Saravan Bhaskaran is right here. If you would stand up, Saravan. And Saravan has about 13 or so years experience in business development in India and Southeast Asia. Yeah, pretty much. And we're very excited to have him, as part of our team. So please take the opportunity to visit with Saravan and learn more about him and how he'll be a critical player within our partnership with SendGrid. Thank you, Saravan. And then Harshal, where's Harshal? Is he around? There he is. Yeah, Trivedi, Harshal. Actually, we've had a relationship with Harshal for a number of years in a number of different ventures. And Harshal has an extensive experience, about 15 to 18 years in cloud computing, artificial intelligence, and machine learning and big data. And Harshal and his team actually is involved in a number of different industries here in India, above and beyond the email environment, if you will, transactional email environment. And so we're very excited to have him as part of our team. And again, please take the opportunity to visit with him and learn more about him and what they're able to do and support us. And as a result, the SendGrid. Harshal, thank you very much. And then Jalesh, there is Jalesh Patadia. Jalesh has been with us for how many years, Jalesh? 16 years, yeah. So we've had a long history with Jalesh in India, and he is the CEO of AccuWeb Hosting, and is going to be a critical player with us as it pertains to sales and marketing and also infrastructure in here. So we're very happy that we have certainly technical expertise, a great deal of technical expertise, but also quote unquote I don't really care for this term, but boots on the ground, as it were, to really enable us to reach out to the wide base of opportunity, here within Greater India. So Jalesh, thank you very much, and for flying in for this event. And then also with Jalesh, we have is Bhargav Trivedi, and he actually is VP of Technical Development along with Jalesh at AccuWeb Hosting, and expertise in infrastructure, right? And great deal of infrastructure, email deliverability. Am I missing anything? Okay. So it's good. I'm glad I'm not missing anything. And so we're very happy to have him and Jalesh, as part of our team. So Thank you very much, and thank you for coming today. And I think lastly is, well, our other partner wasn't able to stay here today. He had to leave early. So I think I get everyone covered, don't I, of our team who is here. So again, we're very excited to be aligned with SendGrid. We're excited about the product. We're really excited about being able to expand our footprint in India, which we already have. And I want to learn more about you, what you're doing, and how we can effectively support you in your endeavors as we align ourselves with SendGrid. So thank you very much. And we also have T-shirts, which we'll be happy to provide you on the way out. So thanks so much, and talk to you.
Great. Thank you, Bill. And yeah, SendGrid is very, very happy with the two resellers we've selected here and working with currently in India. So please reach out if you want to learn more about SendGrid from them, from ourselves. We're here to help out. All right. So with SendGrid, why email? Why is email important? You're here today because email is important. Communications are very important. And when we think about email, we really look at it as that center of digital communications. No matter what sort of digital program you're entering, social media, set up SEM, your mobile, you have to have an email address. I would bet everyone here has an email address, right? Through digital identification. That's where you start out in the digital world, is with your email. And the nice thing about email is we're finding that more and more of our customers, or more and more advertising dollars is going towards email. So traditionally it's been TV and media and print and those sort of things. And today it's email. Email is the number one digital spend for marketers. Anyone have a guess at number two? Want to take a guess? It's content they need for email. So the money is going towards email because it works. It's a leading digital return on your investment, where companies can get $40 for every dollar they send, 2,500 rupees for every rupee you spend. You're going to be able to get that back through email. It's more than you're going to get through Facebook messengers, ads, and some of these other digital programs. Emails over and over produce that success. And we've all heard that email is dead. It won't be here much longer, but it keeps getting bigger and bigger. And there's a reason for that. We as people want to receive email and manage that. SMS, great when we want to have a chat, but it's our digital record we want to keep in email. And it's because it's uniquely built for us. It's specific to our needs. And one of the things we did to help verify that is we did a survey. And we took a look at different generations, from those that are super young, preteen, to all the way up past 50. And we find that 74% prefer their communications via email compared to other things here, promotions, Facebook. You don't want to get an SMS text about a promotion on your phone. Most people don't. Some people do. That's great. You want to get that in email because you can manage it. You can file it. You can unsubscribe. You can remove it. It's easy to manage email. And we even found that with the youngest generation. 20 years ago, the generation wasn't going to use email anymore. The new generation coming up, they're not going to use email anymore. But they're saying, yes, we're going to use email. We understand we're going to need email to manage our business communications and the information we get from businesses, from marketers. And what's the first thing they do in the digital world? They get an email address, just like all of us. It's our identification. This is why email is so powerful. And email's hard. When I started at SendGrid, working for an email company, I had very little email experience. I've used Outlook and I had a Gmail account. I was like, this is easy. I just send an email. But really what needs to be done on the back end, a lot of you already know this. Setting up your servers, making sure MX hooks are correct, entering your DNS, authenticating through SPF and DKIM. How do you do those things if you've never done that before? How do you make sure your mail gets to the inbound servers? Once you get out to an ISP, how does that email then get to the inbox, not spam or get blocked or bounced? The value of SendGrid is we manage those pieces for you, provide you the APIs, the tools to authenticate your message, establish relationships with the ISPs like Gmail, and make sure that we're following their best practices so we can give you the right guidance to be successful. We find that most companies would rather spend time building their app and working on their challenge of their business than spending time doing their email program. And that's what we're here to help you guys do. Manage your email, give you the expertise, help you succeed. And I mentioned this earlier, for every rupee, 2,500 rupee return digital marketing. This is a study done by the Digital Marketing Association. The value is there with email. Key is you got to do it right. You can't buy a list and hope that you're going to make money. Because what happens? The ISPs know that these are already bad emails. You're going into spam. You're going to ruin your domain reputation, your IP reputation, and then what are you going to do? The customers who want your mail, they're not going to get it, and you're going to lose out. And to redo a domain reputation or an IP reputation, it's not easy. So you want to have a strategy up front and do it right. And that's where the products of SendGrid come in. So just as a reminder, we're here to help developers. We're here to help marketers be successful in your email programs. So we have two primary products that are all wrapped into a single solution. So when you purchase SendGrid, you have the ability for what we call transactional mail or your email infrastructure. We're managing your email infrastructure. So when you think about using AWS or Microsoft Azure, you're putting your infrastructure in their cloud. Same thing with email. We're managing that through the cloud. And we're providing you open source APIs that you can take those APIs, take code examples. We have 7 different libraries, put them into your platform, into your app, whatever it might be, and you can be sending email within minutes. We want to make it simple. Remember where we started with those 3 developers years ago. They wanted to help other developers make their email program easy, and that's what we've done here. And so when you think about the importance of transactional email, if a Flipkart, for example, if one of their customer logs in, they forget their password, and they want to buy something, and they don't remember it, so okay, reset password. If they don't get that email, they'll probably forget about that purchase. Flipkart just lost out. That email has to get there. You have to work with a provider who understands getting email into the inbox and helping you be successful. Purchase receipts, count alerts, those repetitive emails, bulk sending is something that SendGrid is built on. And the nice thing is we also have customers that use our APIs and build their own marketing tools within their own platform. They have specifications that they need to send out their emails. They want to have control of automation or a newsletter or taking from their 15 different sources of data. eBay is a prime example of this. They use SendGrid in the backend to power that email, to allow that scale, get the analytics, the data, everything they need to then send that next email and know who that customer is, what they like, what they don't like, and make sure they're targeting them effectively. And those are both through the SMTP relay or an API. And then another one for specifically for marketers. Marketers, they're not going to typically use APIs. They're going to want something that's going to come across in easy design, something that's ready for them where they can take their photos, their content, put it into an editor, make it simple, and be able to send those emails, be able to do A/B tests, be able to segment, be able to ensure their customers are getting the right message. And that's what our product does as well. And the nice thing is for those marketers that do know code, you can split the screen. You can have design on one side, the HTML on the other side, and make your updates on the fly and watch it. So it's a really cool tool. And if you haven't checked it out, it's within your SendGrid account already. It's there for you to use. And the big difference with SendGrid, or where we like to show our value, we talked about deliverability a lot, scale a lot. We have a lot of experts within SendGrid that are primed just for delivery. We have experts that work with our larger senders and providing them guidance and expertise and strategy on their email programs to make sure they're successful. We provide the feedback loops. We reach out to ISPs. You guys will hear from Lennon a little bit. He works with our industry. He sits on the board of different organizations that talk about spam, and they talk about email, and they talk about all those kind of geeky things that make a difference in what you do every day. And we have the expertise and the team behind that to help you guys. And scale, of course, I gave that example, 1 million to 1 billion. That's huge scale. And as you grow, you want to know that your partners in email can scale with you. And then, of course, expertise. The other thing I'm going to add on to that is documentation that we provide to engineers, to marketers, to be able to understand what is, how to use SendGrid, how to be effective in their email program, provide guides on what do ISPs expect, best practices, those sorts of things that come up regularly. And then for our larger customers, we do have dedicated account managers as well to help them with their programs. I mentioned earlier that one of the things I wanted to bring back from Denver here is all the experts we have at SendGrid. There's a great deal of knowledge and wealth. So I'm going to start out with Emily. She's one on our senior technical support manager. She works with a lot of our partners. She's been with SendGrid for 4 years. She's in there answering tickets, customer questions, inquiries on a daily basis. And so this is what she provided us. First one, domain and IP address reputations. When you start a new domain, sending email or an IP, ISPs don't trust you. They want you to prove it. They want you to send out mail that people open. That's the biggest factor, is opens and no spam reports, right? You can have high opens, but if you have a lot of high spam reports, Gmail doesn't like that. They're protecting their customers and their inbox. And they're going to put you in the spam box or not even deliver that mail. Start that engagement with those that open and start small on your programs and understand that sometimes a user may not want your service anymore and you might have to opt them out or they're going to opt out. And that's okay because it's better than hitting spam. The other thing is large spikes. You know, sometimes we see a user log on or create an account, try to send 10,000 emails right away. ISPs don't like that, it scares them. Gmail wants you to send 10 on the first day. Very conservative. Set up sender authentication. So what that allows you to do within the SendGrid UI, you're taking your domain and your IPs, and you're basically providing an authentication that sender can send mail on your behalf. This is part of the SPF, the DKIM setup. We're helping you do that. It takes a few minutes, but we find many customers don't do that. It's a simple step. It's easily forgotten, but it's a big piece of getting your mail into the inbox rather than spam. And then only send wanted mail. People should be opted in. You're buying lists. You're just setting yourself up for failure. Make sure people opt in and want your mail and separate your streams. Transactional marketing. I may want to get my receipts and I want to get my password reset, but I may not want to get your marketing email. Separate those. You can do that within SendGrid or what we call sub-users and provide those to your customers. All right, next I got Krista here. She's a security compliance analyst. So security, robust password. How many of you used password for a password? Anybody? Anybody use their dog? I can probably figure out your password. You tell me your dog's name. Okay. Robust password, and don't put it on GitHub. We have so many examples of customers putting their password, username and password on GitHub. There are people out there looking for it. They're going to take it. They're going to ruin your domain. They're going to ruin your IP. They're going to ruin your reputation. Please don't do it. Two-factor authentication as you get your business up and running. This is a very important piece to make sure that you're keeping secure. Make sure people who are logging on your system are the right people. Talked about SPF, DKIM. The other one on here, DMARC. That's a little bit newer to the industry. That's protecting your domain and not allowing others to spoof off your domain. And if they do try to send email off your domain, set up a set of rules. Don't send it, right? You can monitor it, whatever it might be. But it really, as you get larger and larger, people try to spoof your brands. DMARC is something that every email program should have. And then obviously encrypting, use opportunistic TLS in those messages so that the mail doesn't get intercepted and changed. All right, Seth's the senior deliverability consultant. He works with a lot of our larger customers, the eBays of the world, Flipkarts of the world. It provides them expertise and guidance from a delivery perspective. See what he's got here. ISPs filter mail differently, strategize appropriately. My understanding in India, a lot of Gmail accounts, highly Gmail. They have their own algorithms. Azure has their own. When you're sending to a business, they have their own. They have different rules. So understand that what works for one may not work for the other. But normally, if you can get into the Gmail inbox, you're probably doing something right, because Gmail is the hardest. And for those that you don't know, you can Google Gmail Postmaster, and you can look at your own IPs and your reputation. So it's a really handy tool. You just have to be able to enter a CNAME to be able to do that. So something you have to do individually. Improving delivery is complex with many factors, right? ISPs, their algorithms are just unbelievable what they do to keep bad mail out of their customers' inboxes. One factor, there's no silver bullet, right? There's no one factor that's going to get you in the inbox. There's multiple layers. It's your content, it's your template, it's your domain, it's your reputation. Did you authenticate with SPF and DKIM? Are your customers opening? Or is there a lot of bounces? Is it going to spam? Are people marking your mail as spam? Do a third-party spam filter. Are they marking you as spam and telling businesses not to open your email? There's so many different pieces. One thing to remember, though, is engagement is king. If people are opening and not marking as spam, you're going to have success. If you're getting a lot of bounces, you're not going to have success. If you're getting spam reports, you're going to get in trouble real fast. And what a lot of these ISPs do is they're fingerprinting your templates. They're fingerprinting your domain and seeing what you spend. And when they see that commonality and they know it's spam and people marketing as spam, they're gonna get shut down. And that's not good. And then best practices, always start with best practices. SendGrid has a guide, a deliverability guide out there. You can get it at sendgrid.com. You can ask one of our partners to help you get that guide as well. Read through it and learn how to send email. Then you don't have to worry about those challenges that come about. Educate yourself. The information is out there. All right, next we got Jill. So Jill is on our marketing team. She actually sends out our marketing email at SendGrid. The first thing she has, I love this first one. Where is the spam button in your email? Where is it? You log on to Gmail. Where's the spam button? It's on the top. It's really big, right? Where's unsubscribe? Bottom, super small. I'm a customer and maybe you sent me to email or I'm just fatigued with your email. I can't find the unsubscribe. What's easier to do? Yeah. Make it easy to unsubscribe and understand that sometimes your customers have moved on. That's also a good indicator that you need to change something in your practices. Are you sending too much email? Are you not sending the right email? Are you not engaged right with your customers? So that kind of gets to the next bullet point here is test everything. Your customers want a subheader. Do they want a picture at the top and then text? Do they want it the other way? Are you sending information that's more viable for a man and you're sending it to a woman, or vice versa? Understand who your customers are and what they want. And keep testing. We constantly change our emails and what we're doing to get into the inbox and make sure it's relevant and interesting for customers. Because if you look right now, if you looked at your Gmail account, how many marketing emails do you have from how many different companies? You're not going to read all those. You're going to selectively pick one that has most or interesting headline, or you know that regularly has interesting content that you want to read about. Those are the ones you're going to check out. All right, and then the last one here, of course, is great. Have someone check your emails. Make sure your spelling's correct. Make sure your images are coming across correct. Make sure rendering is working. A simple step, but a lot of times we see marketers miss this. All right, here's Phil. So Phil works with me in the partner success team. His suggestion was look at the different features of SendGrid that you might not know about. First one, email activity or event webhook. So for each email you send out, there might be 6 or 7 events. It might have bounced, it might have got blocked, it might be invalid, it could have been spam, it could have been unsubscribed, it was opened, it was clicked. All these different events. You should at least be tracking the opens in your spam reports. All those you can get through an event webhook where we're posted to a URL that you provide, you can consume the data. The other piece here is the email activity tool. For the last 3 days, you can see what each of your recipients did with that email, what those events are. You can download that as well. And then dedicated IPs with authentication. So when you're first starting out and you're sending a super low volume of email, you might choose to be on a shared IP and risk it just because the economics might not make sense, right? You're sending out 100 emails a week. You're not going to probably want to spend extra $30 on that IP. But as you get bigger and you get 50,000, 100,000 emails, having your own dedicated IP really puts you in control of your reputation with the ISPs. You're not relying on someone else, or you're not getting affected by someone else who's not providing the data. And then take a look at third-party tools. A couple that we like, 250OK, eData Source. They're taking a deeper dive into your inbox, or inboxes as a whole, I should say, not your particular one. Your subject lines, more about spam information that'll help you make informed decisions. All right, Kelsey, so Senior Content Manager. A little plug here for SendGrid. Love everyone to log on to SendGrid, go to the blog, sign up for our newsletter if you want it. If not, unsubscribe, it's okay. But she's the one who's behind the scenes writing the content. She's providing you expertise with different experts from SendGrid or in the email world, different guides that we provide, keeping content relevant so that you guys remain interested in what SendGrid is providing. A couple others I'd like to recognize, Word of the Wise. A lot of industry news through Word to the Wise that allow you to learn what's going on with Gmail or the other ISPs and what some of the trends are. And all of a sudden, you're noticing, why are my spam complaints up? What's going on here with Gmail? You might see that there's an article from Word to Wise that says, oh, Gmail changed their algorithms, which is causing this effect. And okay, it's not me per se. Gmail's made a change. They're reverting that change back because they realize it's causing more harm. Those kind of things happen. The other one, really good emails. You need some ideas. Marketing 101, in my opinion, is either create an idea or you borrow someone else's. They show examples of other really good emails that you can use, know what's effective for them. And then, of course, SendGrid's documentation, sendgrid.com/docs. Tons of information. You can see a lot of our customers there as well. Use cases, case studies, guides, user guides, materials just to help you be successful. All right, that is it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Cheers, mate. Okay, this next section is me. So as I mentioned before, I'm Brendan Yell. I'm based in Sydney, Australia. Run the startup program in APAC. We have about 200 startups every year from India that apply to our program. So I'll explain a little bit more about that moving on. And I'm just going to run through our sort of expert's guide to growing your email list. Just to give you a little background on me, back in 1999, just a few years ago, I started a company called shopfree.com, which we launched in Australia. We took to the UK and then the US, and I lived a couple of years in Silicon Valley. That website, what it did was you would go to the website, you would see a range of free offers. To get access to the free offer, you'd have to fill out your name, your email address, and sometimes a short survey to get that offer. It was a successful business that I ran for over 15 years. And we had over 1.1 million subscribers to the site. We were very good at collecting email addresses, but to be honest, our email practices weren't that good. People would say, oh, you need to get rid of all the dead email addresses. And I was like, well, why would I do that? Like, they might not be dead. They might just be temporarily disabled. Like, why would I get them off the list? And they'd say, oh, look, you need to get all the people off the list that don't interact with your emails. I'm like, no, I don't know. Why would I want to do that? They might not click on something for 12 months, but then suddenly see an email and go, hey, I want that. And that was okay back in sort of 2005. But when the email providers and the inbox providers started getting really smart about what was wanted email and not wanted email, our delivery rates went off like that. So at one stage, we actually segmented out what we believe were the better users, the more engaged addresses or email addresses on that list. But to be honest, we'd done a lot of the damage. We'd been sending to bad addresses for a long time, and for the most part, we were either being put in the spam folder or not being delivered at all. I think you heard Brian mention this stat that email provides a 38 times return on investment. Sounds like a really big number. Sorry. Sounds like a really big number. You know, hang on, how can email be this kind of money-making machine at 38 times? And the reason behind it is your ability to collect data. So it's your ability to find out on your list who's actually opening your email, what they're clicking on, what they're buying, where your recipients are located, what time they're reading your emails, what browser devices, all those sort of things. So you can create an amazing data picture of each customer, and hence you can market very effectively towards them, and hence get that kind of return on investment. What we're going to cover just in this quick session is how to authentically grow your email list, some easy strategies for sort of basic customer segmentation, why A/B testing is really important, and also just some email delivery basics. I'm going to go through some email delivery basics, but then Len is going to deep dive into deliverability. So the first thing you want to do is obviously allow people on your website or your app to easily opt in to the email communications. You know, don't bury the sign up form. Make sure there's a subscribe link up the top there. Make it as easy as possible. We believe it's not. You don't want to ask too many questions. I think if you ask anything more than kind of name and email address, people start thinking, no, I don't want to sign up to this list. You have in time the ability to actually grow more data on that person, finding out what they like, what they don't like. But just to get them started, get them in the funnel, then sometimes just an email address is a great way to do that. You can also provide in some incentives such as a free gift or discounts. And if you think about what shopfree.com was, we used to have free samples of things like shampoo and soap in return for people providing their email address and opting into some communications. You obviously want to optimize your opt-in pages. This is an example of a page that SendGrid uses to actually gather leads for new customers. We call this a lead magnet. So a lead magnet is some sort of offer that attracts users where they're willing to hand over their email address or a little bit of information on themselves to get something of value to them. So we could lock that content here on. As you can see, we have a very basic sign up form, and then after they sign up, they get the free 104 email marketing myths. So it's actually a great way to provide one value to the customer, but in return, getting them to opt in to communications from you. There's multiple. What you also want to do is provide multiple opportunities for that customer to sign up. When on ShopFree, whenever someone wanted to order something, there was always a tick box there that they could opt into communications. Even on your contact form, if they might be emailing you saying, "Hey, where's your office?" or "Tell me more about that product," you can also. That's another opportunity to opt them into communications. You'll see over on the right there. That's like a little fun wheel. I think it's called Wheelio. It's a plugin for Shopify, and I think it's a JavaScript plugin that you can buy or download. There's a number of those. There's another one called Opt-in Monster, which does like pop-ups and like bars up the top and different ways to collect email addresses. Some of them are very intelligent these days. They will sense if you're about to leave the web page, pop up with an offer and say, "Hey, for a 10% discount, give us your email address." You have to be a little bit careful of pop-ups. Today, Google doesn't like any pop-ups that take over the whole page, and you'll get penalized in your search engine rankings if you do that. So just a small, unobtrusive pop-up is the way to go there. And again, there's a number of different ways you can do it, but rewarding people with discounts and referrals as well. Very important to confirm your email address of the subscriber after they subscribe. Never did that at ShopFree. Hence, we had a whole lot of bad email addresses in there where people mistyped their email. And again, that really had a very negative effect on our deliverability rate. So this is an example of Airbnb's confirmation email. It's really simple. It's really clear. One big, very clear call to action. Click on the button and confirm your email. This person has actually asked to receive communications from Airbnb, so they shouldn't have any problem then confirming that intent. It's also important to have an email preference center. I'd consulted a little bit for a company that did like a deal a day, like a Groupon kind of website. And they will, because they sent so many emails, they were getting a lot of unsubscribes. So they built an email preference center so that people could go, hey, look, I don't want to receive your emails every day, but hey, look, once a week is fine. I like what you do, but I don't want it every single day. So you're giving the customer some control, but as opposed to just having a straight sort of unsubscribe button. This is a great example here. Switch to weekly, and there's a chance then you'll keep that customer who actually is interested in what you've got. They just don't want to receive that volume of communications. After someone does subscribe to your list, it's really important to send them a welcome email. It's a great opportunity to exchange, engage with that user. This is an example here of Flipboard, and also I'm not sure who that is over there. It looks like CNN and GigaHome. I'm not sure, but this is a great follow-up email, and also builds some engagement with the users and an ongoing relationship. This is a welcome series from one of our customers, Spotify. After you sign up for Spotify, it sends you a number of emails that are kind of guiding you through how to use Spotify, how to make it valuable to you. There's often a number of things where if you can get someone using that app very quickly, to like, let's say, load up a number of songs into Spotify. I think Facebook had their moment where they said, if you had 10 friends, you're connected with 10 friends on Facebook, then that was enough for you to go, oh, I'm going to use this more regularly. So Welcome Series is a great opportunity to engage these users and getting them into using your app or your product. It's obviously important to develop valuable content. I think it's very easy to fall into the trap, whether you're an e-commerce site or an app, to just kind of sell all the time. But you actually have to provide content that's actually worthwhile to the user. We've got an example here of an email from the Medium Daily Digest, again, another customer of ours. It's important to write great subject lines. We've found that sort of 4 words is about the optimum. We've obviously got loads of data to test this about what subject lines work the best. You want to grab attention with images. Images are super powerful in email, but you can't overdo images. The reason is, years ago, when spam filters would filter on content, so they'd read the words and filter on content, and they go, oh, hang on, this is spam. Let's put that in the spam folder. Spammers, what they would do is they would take that content, make it into an image so that the computer couldn't, the spam filter couldn't read it, and then would, because they couldn't read it, they go, oh, maybe it's legitimate email. So if you're too image heavy, the spam filters won't like that. We advise about 2 lines of text for every image that you have in an email. It's important to know the customer and actually know what they like to do, and also provide a very consistent user experience. We're going to talk a little bit now about customer segmentation. I mean, in an ideal world, every email you send will be targeted and built specifically for that customer, but it's really hard to do that. So one way to sort of get almost there is actually put your customers into segments or buckets. So you go, okay, this section of customers, this segment, they like reading their emails on a Friday afternoon, and they love, stories about sport. These people like reading their stories on a Monday morning, and they love news about finance. And you can segment these people, and by putting them in groups about what they like to do in their behavior and in whatever way is relevant to your app, then you can increase the engagement, of course, then the ROI on that email. And the opposite of segment then is actually just treating all your users 100% the same. We had this at Shop Free, where we would often have different products that were suited to men or women. And we found if we could actually segment just based on gender, that we would get a lot better response rate. So treating them all the same is not really a good thing to do. But there's a number of ways you can segment your customers. Obviously, I mentioned activity there, engagement. You got a certain set of customers that are like, they click on the emails all the time. They love your product. And others are like, maybe not so much, but I don't mind hearing from you. And obviously demographics. So whatever data you can gather, that'll be more useful when you're sending out email campaigns. Just a little case study here. This is Jen. She lives in New York. She was on Foursquare and was searching for coffee. So of course, Foursquare take that data and they know, hey, Jen likes coffee. So what did they do? A couple of days later, they sent her an email with a Foursquare challenge about checking into coffee shops. They also sent her another digest that says, hey, Jen, here's the 17 best iced coffee places in New York City. Just a simple little thing, but they know because she searched for coffee that, hey, that's on her interest list. So you can ask people to fill out a survey. What do you like? What's of interest to you? But behavior is actually the best way to collect this data. Here's an example of like a personalized message here. So personalization, the more you can do it, then the more effective your campaigns will be. Here's an example here from OpenTable. And also, this is a very personalized one here from Fitbit. So what they've taken is a template, and then they've taken Jen's Fitbit data and then sent that to her as an individual email. So I want to talk a little bit about A/B testing and why that works. Sometimes you have an idea about what will work for your audience, but then you're not always right. You know, I'm not always the exact customer. You know, I think, oh, people would like what I like. No, people like different things to what I like. What A/B testing allows you to do is try a number of different things, test them, and then from the best result, then send out an email campaign from there. So what should you test? There's a number of different things that you can test in A/B testing. Obviously, the content of the email, so subject line, the images, try different things there. The length of the email, what links are there. You can try a number of different things. Generally, the main ones here are subject lines, the headlines, and the imagery. Obviously, the design, so you can try different colors. You can try green buttons and red buttons and, a range of different layouts and see which ones are more effective and more engaging. And also the timing. We had this at ShopFree quite a lot because we figured that on the internet, you're either there to save time or you're there to waste time. And because people were coming to ShopFree and they're entering competitions and ordering, some free things, we realized they were there to waste time. So what we would do is we figured out the best time to send was actually late in the afternoon when people were at work. They were a bit tired. They didn't want to do any more work, and they would jump on the website and fill in a survey or fill in an offer. But you can test this out. That was a theory we had, but we had to test it to see if the theory was correct. So how does this work? Luckily, SendGrid has a fantastic tool here for A/B testing where you can load up a number of different tests, send them out to a percentage, about 10% of the database, and then you can say pick a winner. So whichever one has the highest engagement rate, then you send the rest, the 90%, out to the rest of the database. This is just an example of the way you can do it. I'm just going to talk about some deliverability basics. 1,000 years ago, you could blast millions of emails out to anybody, and those emails would all be delivered. And in time, the spam filters got smarter and smarter about this. But email today, there's a very high likelihood that people that don't set it up correctly will experience deliverability issues. We call these guys the big four sort of email providers. There's obviously more than that, companies that run their own servers, smaller providers, but these are kind of would take care, receive most of the email. Reputation score. So over time as a sender, you have a reputation score with these guys. They all do it slightly differently. We know that a lot of it is machine learning and behavior based. And also, there's also IP address options. So if you've got a dedicated IP address, and this is something that SendGrid offers to all of its customers, where some of our competitors only offer it to their very top customers, you're basically controlling your own destiny. And if another bad sender is on your email address, that will affect your deliverability. So we think a dedicated email address is a great way to go. Here's just a little example from a SendGrid dashboard, which just talks about deliverability. So deliverability is basically the number of emails that reach the inbox out of the total number of emails that are sent. So you can see here we've got 259,000 requests, of which 225,000 were delivered. We had 21,000 bounces, which is pretty high. That's approaching 10%, so that's a bad number there. There was obviously a number of bounces and spam reports. You'll always get spam reports, even from email that someone's opted into. It just happens. But obviously, if those spam reports, if someone's seen email and they click this is spam, if they go too high, then the inbox provider is going to go, oh, hang on, I don't think this email is really what people are after. You can see, for example, here that this person or this sender has a reputation score of 62%. So this would be flagged. Our delivery team look at this regularly and will often reach out if someone's all of a sudden had great deliverability, all of a sudden that goes down. Just a last little slide here on some email metrics. Now, these vary from industry to industry. So if you're in financial services as opposed to e-commerce, those numbers will vary. But if you've got an open rate around 20% and a click rate of around 4%, yeah, that's kind of pretty good. If it drops down to 10%, you're kind of on the marginal line. And if you've got an open rate of 5%, all of a sudden the inbox provider is saying, oh, I don't think people really want this email. I think Brian mentioned this as well, but we have a great resource online. We have a great blog and a knowledge base there. There's a heap of docs there about how to set up best practice for email. And just wanted to run through just a little bit about the startup program. So the startup program, so if you're a startup, less than 3 years old, and you may be in a co-work space like this or an accelerator like Rise, then we actually offer the program to you for free for 12 months. So if that's of interest, hey, come and say hi to me. It would be great. And I know all of us are going to be around afterwards to answer some questions. So what I'd like to do now is hand over to Mr. Len Schneider, who's going to run through demystifying deliverability. Over to Len.
Thank you. I'm going to actually have to remember this concept that people are on the internet to waste time or to save time, because I think I fall into this waste time more often than not. Freely admit that. So thanks everybody for coming. I'm going to try not to bore you, and I also know that I am what stands between you and food and drink, which is a terrible place to be in. And I see smiles going, yeah, get off that stage. We want food and drink. So, all right. Who here knows the term deliverability or has struggled with email deliverability? Show of hands? Yeah. Okay, cool. Then I have an engaged audience. We're starting off at a good place. All right, that's me. I've been in email since, well, almost email was invented. No, not that long. It's actually been around for a very long time. But I've been working with companies around email deliverability, best practices, and working with ISPs and the broader email ecosystem for about 15 years now. I represent SendGrid amongst a number of different communities, ranging from the anti-spam security side of things to the policy and email marketing side of the world. So let me tell you a little bit about this presentation, because there are two parts to it. One is that you get to tell me what you think about what I'm presenting now. We meant this presentation to be interactive. Who here has ever seen a show called Mythbusters? Yeah, okay. So this is a Mythbusters presentation. You're going to tell me if the myths are true, busted, or plausible. The second thing is that I didn't make this stuff up. We actually asked 30 of our friends that work in deliverability, hey, what are those things that you've heard from your executives or during a sales meeting that made you just want to bang your head against the wall until you knock yourself out because it was just such a lie you couldn't believe it? And we thought we'd get a little list. It was a very long list, and we had to go through it and choose those lies that we wanted to bust that we found to be the most preposterous. So, without further ado, let's bust a few myths, starting with this one. Buying a CD of addresses on eBay is a total growth hack. What do you guys think? Busted. All right. Look, just to prove to you it exists, I found this over the summer. For $3, you could buy 14 million vetted Yahoo and Gmail addresses. Okay? Now, the scarier part is, look close. There's like 40 of these things sold, right? And they probably thought they were like this, right? Like, I bought it, I'm going to be my company's rainmaker. It's just going to be dollars all day long. 5 seconds after they sent that email, they're going to look a little bit more like this guy. Because when you actually buy lists, what you're doing is you're trying to tell people, I'm going to send you whatever the hell I want, and I don't really care what you want, right? And that's just not the way the internet works anymore. This is a great quote from a little guy named Ben Franklin. That was, very famous guy in the United States. Says, it takes many good deeds to build a good reputation, only one bad one to destroy that reputation. And it can't actually be more true than an email, because email has A, memory, and B, a feedback loop, and C, laws that will actually get you into really hot water. So buying a list is really bad. It'll destroy your reputation. Your deliverability will utterly suffer, and you can actually be sued. Who here has heard of the GDPR? May 25th, we're all terrified. We have lawyers, good. It'll be okay. It's not that bad. But yeah, the new fines under GDPR, which I'll show you later, 4% of global turnover, or 20 million euro. So gotta pay attention. All right, let's bust another one. The more email you send, the more money you'll make. No? I'm gonna say plausible. This one's possible, okay? But if you wanna be like this guy and scream, show me the money, you have to know who you're sending more email to. Let's use this concept, the me test. Do you want more email for a product you don't care about? No. What about products that you do care about? You want more email, you'll be okay with it. The me test is put yourself in the shoes. What we're really talking about is understanding engagement. What is user engagement? And what are those segments of my list that I can send more email to? Now, the Gmail postmaster said a good sender landing in the spam folder is generally the result of sending too much mail. Basically, we have tolerances, and the way Gmail is set up is that it keys off of how you interact with your email. So we really have to focus on is their concept of engagement and reputation. So how are reputation signals processed over a Gmail? As marketers, we have a concept of what an engagement score is, meaning that if somebody clicks or opens an email, they're an engaged user. Therefore, I can take another action, send them more emails, send them less email. But Gmail looks at it a little differently. Some of these engagement signals we can see, other ones we can't. So as marketers, we know when somebody opens our email. We also know when they reply to a message. How many of you send email using a no reply address because you don't want to process the inbound? Yeah, it makes life easier, but if you were to get someone to reply to your message, you actually improve your sending reputation at that point. But here's the key. Getting them to reply is only step one. You have to reply back to them. Otherwise, you're going to have a brand problem because they're going to be like, oh, I sent an email. They're not responding to me. Hell with it. I'm going to go to their competitor, right? Now, on the negative side, swiping emails and deleting them without opening, that like is broken hearts all over the world. You're destroying reputations. How many emails did you guys delete this morning or on your way here, right? You destroyed reputations everywhere. Some of these signals we have direct control over. Other ones are a little trickier. When someone rescues a message from the spam folder or the inbox, that's a very clear signal that people want that message. So again, yes, you can send more email to those segments that are more likely to receive it and do good things with it. Now, here's a little example. This chart's a little hard to read. I know it's frenetic. The blue line represents total volume. The orange line represents opens. So we had this customer, and they were having some delivery issues. And we started working with them, trying to figure out what was going on. So we decided that they were sending a lot of email that was simply unwanted because it wasn't open. There were some bounces in there, some soft bounces. And we said to the client, hey, we're going to cut 80% of your list. They looked at us and said, are you mad? We're like, no, bear with us, bear with us. So we went to our executives and said, we're going to cut 80% of this customer's list. They said, you do realize we're trying to run a business here, right? Like, no, bear with us. Well, we did. Notice the volume drop massively. And the volume and frequency of opens continued up. Because what we essentially did was we pulled all the noise out of the signal. So we were left with nothing but good signal. Meaning that the people that are most likely to respond to your emails are the ones that are your bread and butter. They're the revenue that is actually going to be meaningful to you at the end of the day. And which doesn't also mean that you have to let go of all of this stuff. You just have to use a different strategy for engaging with people that are not as engaged. All right, next myth. You should bury your unsub link. Why would you want to make it easy for people to unsubscribe? What do you guys think? White on white text, like hide that thing way down in the bottom? No. That one's totally busted. Look, the day that the native iOS unsubscribe function came out, we saw more unsubscribes than spam complaints. I mean, this was like a monumental day. Millions of people in the world said, it's not you, it's me. I just gotta go, right? Like, I will take an unsubscribe request any day of the week, literally any day of the week. Why? That means someone can opt back in. If they mark your email as spam, it goes to spam folder, they'll never see it again. You're literally condemning yourself to a very deep, dark black hole that you won't crawl out of. Don't be afraid of unsubscribes. There was a famous example of an unsubscribe function years ago when Groupon put the unsubscribe link at the very top of the email and linked it to a funny video of a guy like begging, please don't go, don't go. Guess what? A lot of people actually opted back in because it demonstrated humor in the brand. And just to give you an idea, the unsubscribe function using this list unsubscribe header, it's actually really it gives brands, or sorry, ISPs, the ability to create a punitive system where it's not only that they can unsubscribe, they can mark your message and unsubscribe. So making it easy and also not overburdening them will preserve your reputation in the long term. This is another example. Do you want to unsubscribe or not? And you could punish them. So moving on. If I can just figure out what these spam trap addresses are, my problems will be solved, right? Like, who here is a spam trap hunter? You're like, I can find these things. I can make this work. Well, guess what? It's true if you could find them, but you'd be like this guy if you went looking because they're not meant to be found. Spam traps are a minefield, all right? If you know where the mines are, you just walk around them. That's why you don't know where the spam traps are. There are a lot of companies that will sell you services to clean your email list of spam traps. Yeah, there are some known traps, but guess what? There are entire domains of unknown traps. What we should be focusing on is a concept of list hygiene. How do you create a healthy email and subscriber list and make sure that it's good for the long term? First, spelling matters. Who here collects email addresses at point of sale or has been like Mike_Ward, all one word at yahoo.com, that actually made it into an email list? Somebody wrote it down and was like, oh yeah, that's your email. That works, right? Gmail.com does not use country-specific TLDs. There's no gmail.fr or .uk.co. It's gmail.com. But we see these variants getting into the email lists because of human error. We're imperfect creatures. God knows, I can hardly spell my native language, let alone another. All right, don't email the dead. There are lots of domains that no longer accept email. For instance, about last year, a huge Brazilian domain went offline. It just ceased its mail functions. If you see something from athome.com on your subscriber file, yeah, Brendan's laughing because he knows how old that domain was. Like that stopped accepting email like 15 years ago and still crops up. Avoiding role accounts. If you ever see one of these email addresses starting with postmaster at or abuse at, ask yourself, how the hell did it get in there? It shouldn't be in there. Those are actually protected email addresses for things like webmaster functions. Abuse at will never subscribe to anything. It should never enter your list. First of all, it's an alias for a bunch of people that will make your life miserable if you start sending them email. Understanding engagement. Again, break your list into easily digestible chunks, 0 to 3 months. People that open 3 to 6 months, 6 to 9 months. And guess what? 9, 12 months? Why is that person still on your list? They haven't opened an email. All they are is dragging down the capability of the rest of your list to deliver. So consider removing them or sending them less mail or asking them, do you still want email? Because guess what? That dead weight, that really unengaged portion is going to drag down the rest of your list. All right. Clicking an unsub link proves your address legit and you'll get more email as a result. Yeah, you're like, what the hell is this all about, right? Like, it's true, but for it to be true, we have to jump in DeLorean, go back in time to a very dark time, about the time that Brendan was probably entering the internet age. Back in the day, spammers actually convinced people were using the unsub link to essentially know whether or not an email address was live. So it took a long time for people to understand that unsubscribe functions work. And two things happened to do that. One is we created the spam button. Now, this was an invention of AOL, believe it. In 2003, they created the spam button to help their filters understand what was wanted mail and what was unwanted. And guess what? Every single ISP in the world now is a spam button. Thank you, AOL. We hate you dearly. No, just kidding. In 2003, we also had the passing of the CAN Spam Act, which in the United States was the first time that we had teeth behind this concept of, wow, email is really personal, and when people do it wrong, we should sue them. Well, we don't sue enough of them, but nonetheless, we do have laws now around the world that protect what you can and cannot do with email. So that's the end of the History Channel portion of this presentation. We'll get back to busting myths. All right, if they buy something, they get all of the email, all of it, right? Like, no, you don't agree with that one. No, yeah, totally busted. Look, we have preference centers, and I know Brendan was totally right when he said, don't bother them for too much email. You're creating friction to getting people to opt in. But give them the ability to tell you what they want after they subscribe. Send them a second email and say, hey, do you want to hear from me daily, weekly, monthly? How do you want to hear from me? Because if you set that expectation, they're going to be around longer. They're not going to go, why do you email me 3 times a day? My wife doesn't even call me 3 times a day. Why are you doing this? So seriously, set the expectation and use these things because they're powerful. And we have this concept, like we all have a concept of what personalization is on the internet. I come to a website or I get an email from someone, has my name in it, right? This is a way that you can allow people to personalize the flow of communications from your company to them. So it's a powerful tool. And here's the other reason, okay? I mentioned this. GDPR, May 25th, the end of all things data related. No kidding. GDPR comes into force in Europe on May 25th. And really stiff fines. A lot of the time people use pre-checked boxes. Don't ever do it. Don't do it. Because under GDPR, that is not what consent is. That is not a freely given, specific, informed, unambiguous, that is actually the language from the law, freely given, specific, informed, unambiguous form of consent. Therefore, the fines, that's terrifying. 4% of global profits are 20 million euro, whichever is higher. So consider using preference centers and get rid of the pre-checked boxes. It's not good. All right. Contrary to what you may think or feel, mailbox providers don't hate bulk senders. Do you ever wake up in the morning and go, God, Gmail hates me. What the hell am I doing wrong? Gmail just hates me. Well, it's true. They don't actually hate you. It's a lopsided affair. And what do I mean by that? This is information from the Talos system. It's basically a threat network and also a spam filter for Cisco. 85% of all of the email traffic coming through it is horrible spam. This is the stuff like ransomware, malware, viruses. Pretty much 85% of all global email traffic are emails and communications designed to completely defraud you of your identity and drain your bank account. I mean, this is some scary stuff. This is recent. I took this out this summer. Now, from one of the organizations we work with, MOG, the Messaging Malware Mobile Anti-Abuse Working Group. That's why we call it MOG. It's a very long mouthful to pronounce. We actually asked the member ISPs, AOL, Gmail, Yahoo, and a few others, to donate information between 2014 and 2011 of what the threat landscape looked like back then. 90%. We've only gotten 5% better since then. And it's basically trench warfare. Spammers have more weapons, if you will, and more power than legitimate mailers. We're concerned with preserving our brands, as you should be. They don't care. Therefore, it's an uphill battle for us. So yes, legitimate email does get caught in the crossfire, but just be aware of what the global email world looks like. It's not just about us and our brands in the inbox. And to show you something else, sometimes it gets better. You see that increase of green and the decrease of yellow? That's hope. That's Gmail changing its filters. In August, we noticed they made a significant change to their algorithm. And because half of our 1.5 billion emails a day actually get sent to Gmail because it's so large, we can see things like this in our data that show a massive change. When we pinged the Gmail postmaster and said, hey, you guys changed something, they're like, oh, you saw that, huh? Yes, we did see that. All right, let's bust more myths. If my seeds are inboxed, my campaign is to, or my seeds land in the junk folder, Houston, we have a problem. Who here knows what seed testing is first? All right, we got some education to do. All right, this one's plausible, but let's talk about seed testing. How do you know if an email made it to the inbox or if you have a deliverability problem? Anyone want to answer that? One of the common ways is that you take a list of email addresses from a company like 250OK or ReturnPath or EDS, you include it with your campaign, and then they automate pulling out where those emails landed. And it's basically a litmus test of where did my email go? To go to the inbox, the spam folder, or get rejected. The problem is that you have to determine, was it sent before you sent your campaign or with the campaign? Because guess what? If you sent it before the campaign, all you're doing is testing that content on that IP, at that domain, at that moment in time. There's no human interaction. You and I, all of us here in this room, actually affect the disposition of email. When it arrives, depending on what you and I do, whether we open it, whether we reply to it, whether we delete it or mark it as spam, will change how email arrives to the inbox for the totality of a send. So I always say, how are you doing your testing? Are you incorporating the human factor because you did a seedless test during production, or did you do it beforehand? So when we talk about deliverability at SendGrid, we're really talking about having more data at your fingertips. And this is the kind of data that we rely on in order to determine whether you have a deliverability problem, a content problem, or just a marketing and brand reputation problem. Because all of these things get tied in together into a complete picture of what deliverability is. So we look at things like machine responses. So when someone clicks an email or marks it as spam or pulls it out of the spam folder, that's a human response to your email marketing. Machines actually talk to each other, and there's log files full of responses. 250OK is a beautiful response. You know what that means? It was accepted. But guess what? When a machine says 250OK when you try to hand it a piece of email, that means it could go to the inbox or the spam folder. It accepted it. It's not telling you where it's going. So it's important to have all this other data to try to figure out, did it work? And at the end of the day, you know what? We rely on knowing what the baseline is for sales, opens, and clicks, because that is what's going to tell you if you have a problem. Someone says, oh, my email went to spam because the executive at this company received it in the spam folder, right? Well, what's the percentage of sales you generate? 9%. What do you normally generate? 8%. You don't have a spam problem. He has a problem, right? These are ways to put out fires, and over many years of putting them out, we figured it out. All right. All triggered messages are transactional. What do you guys think? No? You don't agree? Yeah, that one's busted. That one's easy. All right. My welcome series is totally transactional. No, busted. Nope. We can talk about that. All right. I'm going to say it once. Keep calm and remember, all transactional emails are triggered. Not all triggered emails are transactional. And what do I mean by this? For it to be a truly transactional email, as far as the law defines it, it is a human-generated transaction, generally implies some kind of money for goods or services. Things that are triggers are things like, I'm going to send out birthday emails whenever on the anniversary of when someone signs up for me. That's not transactional. That's a trigger you set up. Welcome series are triggers based off of an event, but not necessarily a transaction. All right. If I obey Can Spam Castle GDPR, my email will absolutely deliver to the inbox. What do you guys think? Busted. Excellent. These people are the ones that will basically tell you whether or not you're breaking the law. Those people will determine whether or not your email makes it to the inbox. They're not the same. You can follow all the rules, still not make it to the inbox, follow none of the rules, make it to the inbox, and get sued. Don't confuse the two. Understand what the industry looks like. All right. Based on Can Spam, I have 10 days to unsubscribe someone, so I should totally email them again. You guys laugh, but it happens. This is totally plausible. Yes, you can. You absolutely can email them again. Why? All right. When we live in a very instantaneous world, transactions happen quickly. I put this comic up here to explain the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law, okay? The letter of the law says, yes, you have 10 days. And I see stupid things on confirmation pages like, yes, we will unsubscribe you in 5 days. Why? Do your ones and zeros move slower than the rest of the internet? Do your packets not flow that fast? Why are you taking 5 days to remove me? Get it done immediately. Again, if you were to carpet bomb somebody's inbox over those next 5 days, they're going to mark it as spam. And then what happens? Your entire reputation goes to hell, right? So follow the spirit of the law, not the letter of the law in this case. All right, you should send your transactional and commercial email from the same IP. It'll help your deliverability. What do you guys think? No, don't ever do that. It's plausible, it could, but don't ever do that. So this image, separation of church and state, if that doesn't work, Ghostbusters, keep calm, don't cross the streams. Your commercial and transactional email has very different reputations. Additionally, you want very separate reporting for both of those things. We advise at a minimum that you have 2 IPs, one for your transactional email, one for your commercial email. Who here has marked spam on a shipping notification? No, right? Who here has marked spam on a banking email telling you what your account balance is? No. Transactional emails. Who here has marked spam on a really stupid newsletter that didn't know what the hell it was doing? Yes, that's the difference. Your transactional will have a different reputation. Now, you may think, oh, I should use that reputation, but you really don't want your transactional emails landing in the spam folder, and here's why. When someone doesn't get that shipping confirmation, they contact you, they contact your call center. That costs you more money. That is not the way you want to do business. So keep them separated. You'll be happier in the end. All right. The addresses I collect via my web forms are submitted by the owners of those addresses. Plausible. However, hopefully this works. Didn't work. All right. If this was working, you would see a video on here of email coming in at a scary fast rate in somebody's inbox. So in 2016, we started seeing a new attack vector in email, and it was actually kind of terrifying. It was literally list bombing. So spammers deployed a bunch of crawlers that would take a single address, specifically people in the anti-abuse, anti-spam industry, and some journalists, and subscribed it to every web form they could find. It was like a DDoS attack to someone's inbox. That was really problematic. You know what happened? A bunch of ESPs got blacklisted by Spamhaus. And we had to find a way to stop this because it started to affect individuals in the industry in a bad way. So a lot of CAPTCHA forms got deployed to essentially fool these crawlers that were doing all the subscriptions. I would recommend using a CAPTCHA form on your opt-in pages because I know it adds friction to essentially someone subscribing, but it's going to create a healthier list. Because if you leave a CAPTCHA, if you leave one of your opt-in forms open and it gets compromised by a bot that subscribes over and over a certain number of addresses, you'll get blacklisted and then you'll have further problems. All right, and again, confirmed opt-in's a way to stop it as well, because If you have confirmed opt-in and a mechanism that wouldn't send a second email, you would stop at that one email until it received a confirmation. So consider these things. That also helps you get compliant with things like GDPR and CASL. All right. I need like 1 billion sending IPs. No, seriously, I really do need that many. No, nobody needs 1 billion sending IPs. Well, maybe. No, just kidding. Having too many IPs makes you look like a snowshoe spammer. Snowshoes essentially spread your weight across a bigger surface area so you don't sink in the snow and flop around like a 2-year-old. Spammers like to spread their traffic over a big surface area with lots of IPs to hide that traffic. Too many IPs from a machine standpoint, systems that are architected to look for abuse will look at legitimate senders as spammers. Let's say you have an IP at this colo and then register with this and with that. That's really problematic from the eyes of the ESPs. You don't want too many sending IPs. And ideally, you'll have all of the IPs in a neat row. That doesn't always happen, but it's more problematic when you have too many sending IPs. So in that same vein, if one IP gets blocked, then just route the mail over a new IP, right? Problem solved. No, you're shaking your head. Yeah, this one's totally busted. Don't do it. I can't stress this enough. Don't ever do this because you'll look like a spammer. And this is why you don't want to do it. If you don't solve the fundamental problem that is causing the issue, it's just going to follow you to the new IP because you have a domain that's going to be consistent as you move to a new IP. And even if you try to change that domain, you have content that's going to be consistent, URLs that are going to be consistent. Otherwise, your brand's going to get lost in the shuffle. You have to solve the problem. A new IP will only make it worse because an ISP or a postmaster or a blacklist provider will look at you and say, they're trying to act like spammers by switching IPs. I'm really going to block the hell out of them now. So fix the problem, otherwise it will follow. All right, you only need to use email authentication if you're having deliverability problems. Who here knows what email authentication is? All right, no, busted. And so there are 3 really great reasons why email authentication is important. One is it's a data point that helps deliverability. It tells receivers essentially what you're doing and who you are. It's a trust mechanism. It also protects your brand. It makes it harder for people to spoof your brand and to send illegitimate email pretending to be you. And third, it makes the internet a better place. And we all want to make the internet a better place because it protects people from receiving phish that are designed to essentially defraud them of their PII and essentially drain their bank accounts. So back in 1971, when Ray Tomlinson sent the first email, no one ever thought email would be what it is today. Like, it was like 400 guys on the internet, like all academics, like, hey, we want to save on stamps, let's create email. Today, it's much more than that. But the underlying system is essentially the same, and it has one fundamental flaw. Trust. How do I know you are who you say you are when you send that email? 3 mechanisms were created to do this. The first one's called SPF. SPF is a simple text record in your DNS, and all that says is, hey, this IP is allowed to send email on behalf of this domain. Straightforward, not absolute, because guess what? Spammers sign SPF. So we had to go a step further. We created DKIM, Domain Keys Identified Mail. This is a cryptographic solution to ensure the validity of the content that is being sent. Public-private key pair that says, this message was not tampered with in flight, meaning that somebody didn't steal some of my content pretending to be me and change the URLs. This is really great for anybody in the fintech world because guess what? You are targets for phishing and spear phishing and spamming. This is what's going to help prevent the abuse of your content. The third part of it was that we created a third text record called TMARC, Domain Messaging and Reporting Conformance. I don't like to say that often. We just call it DMARC for short, which basically tells an ISP like Google or AOL or Yahoo what to do with an email that fails one or both of those checks. And you basically create a policy that says, hey, if it fails a SPF or a DKIM check, drop it like it's hot. Just drop it on the floor. Do not deliver it. So you've essentially protected your brand and protected the consumer. This is why email authentication is something that everybody should be concerned with. Because when you hear about breaches and a bunch of data getting out into the world to the spammers, it usually starts with bad email. It starts with somebody essentially giving up a piece of information that leads to the compromise of entire systems. And email is a massive attack vector because it is the biggest open communications platform in the world. So here's an example. There are benefits to having email authentication. That little symbol right there is generated through a combination of aligning all of your email authentication records and having a profile on Google+. Simple, right? But that's better branding. That's our logo right there, as opposed to an R and N. You get to see the SendGrid logo over and over. Additional incentive for email authentication. Right now, Microsoft is working on a standard called BIMI, Brand Indicators for Message Identification. Microsoft, Gmail, all ISPs want all of us, every marketer in the world, to use email authentication when sending email. They are giving Groupon an enhanced logo in the inbox to demonstrate messaging and email conformance and alliance across all of their domains. So this is really beneficial. Think about it in the long term. We all want more impressions, and email authentication is one way of getting there. This right now is in the testing phase, but look for it down the line. All right. The best place to land, Gmail is the primary tab, so do whatever you can to get there. Primary? I'm going to say this one's totally busted. All right, look, May 2013, very dark day. A lot of email marketers thought they were going to go into SMS, that they'd never touch email again because Gmail launched Tabmageddon. I remember this day. Much whiskey was drank that day. But we're still here. We're still doing email. It's okay. It didn't hurt that much. ReturnPath did a survey recently where they determined only about 30% of people actually use tabs, right? Of that 30%, 90% found it useful. So people like the tabs. But here's the bit of the report that I actually found more interesting. Only like 19% never check the tabs. That's an infinitesimally small number of people. And guess what? If you have an iPhone, there are no tabs on an iPhone if you're using the native client. I don't care about tabs. Tabs are good. All tabs did was it shifted the time of the open. Instead of being instantaneous, it's later in the day when someone's on the train, going home, looking through the promotions, seeing if there's anything they want to click on. The open still happens. It just doesn't happen as instantly as we would want it to happen, unfortunately. All right, last one. And then food and drink. And oh yeah, a few words from Brendan first. But I heard there's an ISP bat phone. Who do I need to call to resolve this problem? That's busted. There's no one to call, all right? I wish this phone existed. It would be great. I would be on that phone all the time. I would be the chief operator of that phone. But guess what? Deliverability is completely in your control. We went through a lot of different things that would help your deliverability, but at the end of the day, if there's nothing else that you take away from today, just remember this. Send beautifully designed email to people who want to receive it. That's it. That's what engagement is. It's about delivering good content and a good experience. Same as you provide them on the web, just do it in an email. And so with that, I thank you. I thank you for your time. I'm handing this back to my colleague, Brendan, who will usher us out with a few words.
Give it up for Len. Thanks, mate. That was absolutely fantastic. I learned some things there as well, and I've probably sent 500 million emails in my career, and I still learned some stuff, so thank you so much for that. Who likes free t-shirts? Somebody does. They're really nice and soft. Just let you know, Americans block these. They're American sizes, okay? So just be aware of that. This one's a medium, so don't go for the large when you think, oh, I might, they're kind of big sizes. There's some t-shirts out there. Who likes free drinks and food? Couple of people? Okay, we'd love you to join us downstairs. All of the SendGrid team are going to be here, so if you got some specific questions about how we can help, I'm more than happy to do that over a juice, a beer, or a wine, and some food down there. So, hey, thanks so much for your attendance today. I know some of you came a long way, spent a long time on the train to get here, so we really appreciate it. Thanks very much, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.